Welcome back to the special live coverage of Baghdad's Conference for Cooperation and Partnership, currently held in the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan. Joining me here in KTV News Studio is Mr. Nader Al Ubaid, the strategic planning consultant, economic and financial expert, to shed light on this conference. Good afternoon, Mr. Nader.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having us.
Mr. Nader, the second Baghdad Conference for Cooperation and Partnership aims at seeking border, regional and international support, as well as securing political, economic and security partnership. With the attendance of the Arab and European leaders, how such conference translate the GCC, Arab and global unity facing those difficulties?
First of all, thank you for having us, and in this coverage, which is very important, that's coming within a short time after the Chinese GCC summit. This shows that the region are active in different ways. Now we see the participation of the leader and from the GCC and other countries. They want to, I think, the objective is to lift the level of contribution for the first summit in different ways. Now we see it from the contribution and the agenda that will be focused on. Especially now we are trying, or we saw that there is a wider vision for that summit. I think the location played major role. The first one was in Baghdad. Now we see it in Amman, in Jordan. I think this is another area where we see that other players are contributing and attending that summit. We see other countries are there, like Saudi Arabia, Iran, and the sponsorship of France. Definitely this will give or indicate that the GCC and Arab countries are now trying to expose and to cooperate with the Eastern countries as well as European countries, which I think shows that the summit will be taken to another level in a way.
Let's dig into about the this conference's agenda. Iraq's second conference is expected to discuss food and energy security, as well as political, economic and humanitarian arenas surrounding Iraq. Can you highlight the importance of unifying global efforts to Iraq's food and energy security?
Well, let me tackle it from different point of view, from economic point of view. Usually the economy drives the political affairs in most of the cases. Now, I remember Kuwait held different international events for reconstructing Iraq at that time. And I remember that there were 3 levels. The first one was rebuilding Iraq. The second one was the non-government contribution for Iraq. And the third one was related to investment. This shows that for the last 20 years, Iraq was supported in different ways. But in my opinion, I think the agenda should focus how to help Iraq to move into another level in terms of vision, because Iraq is an oil producer country, but the infrastructure and the environment for supporting the business, I think, needs to be reconsidered. In this summit, I think it should be focused on how to help Iraq to move to another level rather than just waiting for another events to support Iraq financially. Iraq has historical existence. They are known in tourism and oil, but unfortunately, it seems that the vision was not clear. And the second event, which is the summit here, I think the focus is clearer. Definitely, Kuwait used to have different types of supports. In healthcare, Kuwait was very active for the last 15 years or 20 years. Especially that, after the event that was held in Kuwait, Kuwait contributed with $1 billion at that time. Okay, and it was dispatched on tranches, focus on education, schools, quality of education, so many events related to the educational, and it was backed up with healthcare support. And we see now, I think, the different levels in terms of hospitals, clinics, and medicine. So what we are thinking in terms of this event, Iraq should take advantage of having that support to have or to attract investment there.
Mr. Nader, just to shed light on the situation, I would like to show a report that talks about more what the challenges that are facing Iraq, and then we'll highlight those issues more. Baghdad's Conference for Cooperation and Partnership kicks off today in the Jordanian capital Amman. The summit will discuss challenges facing Iraq and the region countries with the participation of over 10 countries, including Kuwait. Here's more.
Jordan hosts the second edition of Baghdad Conference for Cooperation and Partnership to bring together a multitude of regional leaders, as well as the French President Emmanuel Macron and representatives from the European Union, United Nations, Arab League, Gulf Cooperation Council, and Organization of Islamic Cooperation. A number of leaders and representatives of countries and regional organizations are participating in the conference. The participating countries include the State of Kuwait, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, the State of Qatar, the Kingdom of Bahrain, the Sultanate of Oman, and the Arab Republic of Egypt, the Republic of Turkey, and the Islamic Republic of Iran. Also participating in the conference are Secretary General of the League of Arab States, the Secretary General of the Cooperation Council for Arab States of the Gulf, and the representative of the United Nations and the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, in addition to the European Union. The opening session of the conference will be attended as a guest by the Ambassador of Arab countries, the European Union, the G20, and the permanent member of the Security Council. The conference is held to confirm support for Iraq, its sovereignty, security, and stability, and to enhance the way of security and stability and contribute to the development process in the region.
Welcome back to this special live coverage of Baghdad's Conference for Cooperation and Partnership. We are still here with our guest, Mr. Nader Al-Abaid, the strategic planning consultant, economic and financial expert. Mr. Al-Abaid, would you elaborate for us about Kuwait's role in supporting the region in various aspects, such as the health, education, and the building infrastructures?
Well, actually, Kuwait had a vision in 70s, and that was during different vehicles. And one of the vehicles, we see that Kuwait Fund, this is one. Another area where there are investment companies, one of them is called Kuwait Foreign Trading and Contracting Company. It used to be the financial arm for Ministry of Finance at that time, before Kuwait Investment Authority was established. And during 70s and 80s, Kuwait used to participate in direct investment. In a way, it's a political support, but in a way, it's an investment. And I remember that there was big investment in Sudan, and in food and beverage, and one of them I remember that was Sukkar Kanana, one of the biggest projects in Mauritania. And in Syria, there was big investment in terms of livestock, in Jordan as well, in Yemen. Big investment in terms of hospitals, schools, infrastructure. Oman, then GCC, I remember, Somalia.
The Kuwait was heavily invested since the 70s, especially in infrastructure projects, as well as anything that supports the advancements of society, such as education, healthcare, and so on.
Yes, that's why, you know, Kuwait used to have good experience in that level. And most of the investment were at least resulted positively in the relationship and to support certain sectors. Now, I think it's important that the GCC consider such experience as well, because Kuwait used to be a leader in that level. Especially now, we see the GCC are moving collectively to support different regions like Iraq, and Iraq is a potential market. That's why it is good to have a leader or the experience, or let's maximize the benefit of the leadership of Kuwait in that event.
This is a point I want to touch base more on. How would you explain the relationship between the state of Kuwait and the region, and particularly in the world in general? How did Kuwait solidify this relationship to help bring in all this support?
Well, you see that there are different types of support. There are supports financial, and there are different types of contribution in form of loans or donations. But each relationship used to have it differently. Even in business, by the way, Kuwait used to lead international loans to support the Arab countries with the IMF, by the way, that was in 70s and 80s. So Kuwait used to contribute in different levels, not only from political investment, social, educational, healthcare, and we saw that, by the way, since we are talking about this, I was part of my existence in business that was in the international or financial sector. I'm documenting this because we need people to know what the contribution of Kuwait in terms of projects and different levels.
Directly and indirectly as well.
Yeah, I'm glad that you are asking this, because you know it is part of our responsibility to put this in document and to be reflected as Kuwait and the contribution of Kuwait along with the Arab countries and other countries in different regions. So this is my views in terms of this. Kuwait is attending this summit. I think they should coordinate in maximizing the use of certain areas, especially that going back to the experience of Kuwait, Kuwait has touched different environment that was not ready for investment. And there was a role to help in improving the business environment in a way. That was in 70s and 80s, and it is a cumulated experience. We should benefit from that.
Mr. Nader, we'll just take a quick short break and we'll continue more in our discussion. Welcome back to the special live coverage of Baghdad's Conference for Cooperation and Partnership, currently held in Amman, Jordan. We have our first call here today with our guest engineer Fahad Al Masoud, writer and political analyst. Good afternoon, Engineer Fahad.
Yes, good afternoon for all of you.
Engineer, could you tell us about your impressions about the summit so far?
Yes, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you for having me. We know that Jordan is hosting today Baghdad's second conference for cooperation and partnership after the first one, which took place in Iraqi capital, Baghdad. It was 2 years ago in August 28, 2021. So the impression is good if such conferences come out with important recommendations and decisions and under international supervision to implement those decisions to achieve security and stability for brotherly Iraq in preparation for the advancement and construction and wish for it all after turmoil, the political crisis and destructions that happened in the last 2 or at least 2 decades.
Engineer Fahad, what outcome are to be expected from the summit, in your opinion?
Okay, let's first talk about the first conference. And in the first conference, it was the final statement which stated support for Iraq in security and economic terms in order to achieve its stability, sovereignty and territorial integrity, and called on the countries of the Arab Mashraq and its neighbors to deal and implement this final statement. So in continuation with this first conference, this conference will discuss ways to support Iraq and its efforts to enhance its security and sovereignty, ensure its stability and achieve development and prosperity for its people, in addition to developing regional cooperation mechanisms, which Iraq in a number of areas that include combating terrorism, food security, water security, energy, and other areas that contribute to supporting Iraq.
And finally, if you may elaborate more, other than how important this summit is, what is the beneficial of the conference for the region in general?
Yes. The stability of Iraq is the stability of the region. All we agree with this. And it will be a motive for economic and commercial cooperation and great investment opportunities, because Iraq has multiple natural resources, as all you know, that retain immunity to it and neighboring countries and the region in investing in Iraq to achieve construction and sustainability.
Engineer Fahad Al Masoud, writer and political analyst, we thank you for your input.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Mr. Nader, from the answers you just heard, Engineer Fahad, I would love to hear your comments and points on the mentioned items.
Well, regarding the benefits of each country, you see, each country is considering this summit for mutual benefit. We see Jordan. Jordan is working closely with Iraq as per the arrangement for what they call it Basra Aqaba pipelines. This is crucial for both parties. First of all, it's an exposure for Jordan to have a good cooperation with Iraq, especially for the exporting oil through Aqaba. This is one of the benefits. Second, if you see, Jordan went through some difficulties, you know, COVID. Before that was the Arab Spring. Before that, there was an issue of 2003, which is after the regime Saddam. And I think it's important, especially for Jordan, to consider an exposure and relief with this summit that I'm here after this appearance. Disappearance. Now,
to be more involved
internationally. So I think this is very important for Jordan regarding that. Now, Kuwait as well. There are attachment here. There are many projects involved between Iraq and Kuwait and Iraq. We see Turkey. It's another area where, you know, they can benefit. So the GCC, when it comes to benefits, definitely Kuwait has a long relationship. And I think having Kuwait involved in that, they should benefit or increase the level of mutual benefits in different levels. But when it comes to location of Iraq, Iraq is very important. For investment. As we mentioned, you know, the GCC is keen to invest and to have a good financial and economic cooperation with Iraq and Jordan as well. The GCC now, they have a similar vision of expansion. So I think the benefit with this, as we say, you know, the sponsorship of French, the French government involved in that, I think this gives different exposure internationally for each country separately.
We will touch base more on it, on specific items on the agenda of the conference, and then we'll elaborate more on that. The Arab Coordination Group is taking action in response to the global food supply crisis. As a step, the institutions constituting the group are providing an initial of $10 billion for immediate relief and long-term support. Here's more.
The Arab Coordination Group ACG is taking action in response to the global food supply crisis. As a first step, the institution constituting the group are providing an initial $10 billion for the immediate relief and long-term support. According to the latest estimates by the United Nations, about 49 million people worldwide are at risk of falling into famine conditions in the months ahead. An amount of a minimum $10 billion represents the total of ASG members' commitments to cover the import cost of basic commodities such as seeds, grains, and fertilizers, while supporting medium and long-term security of food supply in partner countries. Addressing the climate crisis, the group also agreed to provide financing plan to mitigate the impact of climate change and strengthen climate resilience. The plan will include a collective financial commitment and a roadmap to accelerate the energy transition, increase climate resilience, and promote energy security.
We are back to this special live coverage of Baghdad's Conference for Cooperation and Partnership, currently held in Jordan. Joining me now via phone call, journalist Laith Mohammed from the Republic of Iraq to give us his input. Good afternoon, Laith.
Yes.
Pretty quick,
Well, the summit,
I need your impressions about the summit so far and what to be expected as an outcome.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. Actually, this summit had followed several ones before. The domain to evaluate the summit is by the outcome. The question is, what is it for Iraq? We've experienced a lot of summits before, and we didn't really reach any outcome. After all these conferences, sessions, we as Iraqis didn't feel the benefit out of all these meetings. In such summits, we can bring a lot to Iraq if we have experienced political team with long political vision, which is unfortunately we don't have right now. Sorry.
I'm still with you, Laith. Continue, please.
Yeah, we are facing a problem with our political team. They don't have this really long vision in order to achieve their goals, to be having the strength to impose their demands in order to negotiate for better outcome for Iraq. We think as Iraqis that we can bring a lot from such summits to lift Iraq from being a consuming country into an industrial, powerful, productive country. As you know, Iraq is still gambling about the oil card till now, while all the world is reaching out for the clean energy. This could be really risky, and lots of Iraqis are counting on oil till now. So that's what I'm saying, that we have human resources need to be developed, water resources, industry, agriculture, lots of sides need to be developed in order to come up with real income, not just speaking, as we heard from the foreign ministers, just rubber talking and general words. We are going, and that's all. So that's my
Laith, I appreciate your input on this subject. We'll try to catch up with you later once the summit is over. We also have with us on the phone from the Republic of Iraq also journalist Hussein Al-Fartusi. Good afternoon, Hussein. Hussein, you're with me?
Yes, I can hear you well.
Hussein, if you don't mind, please tell us about the agenda of the Baghdad conference and if you can give us an overview of what's happening.
Yes, actually today the Iraqi Prime Minister landed in Jordanian capital Amman, and he met with the top officials in Jordan, the king and other officials. He yesterday, Iraqi Prime Minister, assured that this summit will bring to the region stability and peace, because Iraq's main target is the stability and security, as well as empowering economic sector among the countries in the Middle East. For that, this summit, it is the second Baghdad summit for cooperation. It means that cooperation for the countries to work together and exerted the efforts in order to work for the Middle East. It's not only that things, but as well as the Iraqi government is heading by the high-rank governmental delegation to participate
That means that this summit is very important for Iraq, and he will meet with the leaders of the regions, especially Kuwait and Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, and the other participants. They will came and discuss together all what is needed. Let me tell you something. The participants, including Egypt, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Qatar, and Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, Turkey, and Islamic Republic of Iran, as well as the Secretary General of Arab League, the Secretary General of the Cooperation Council for Arab States, the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, as well as the European Union. This summit is to confirm support for the stability in the Middle East. All we know, the stability in Middle East was shaking. Currently, Iraq and the Gulf states, especially Kuwait, are working together for promoting peace, as well as to respect sovereignty of the states. The most important thing that the sovereignty of a state is to be respected, and there is no violation from the other countries. Meanwhile, the countries assured that there is no interference with the other countries' internal issue. It means that to confirm support for the stability, support sovereignties of states, security, and ensure stability. And this is very important things. And the other things which we are looking for is developing cooperation mechanism with it in a way that enhance security, stability, that contributes to development process in the region. The conference will follow by, the president of France, Macron. He will also participate in this meeting. That's what we are looking for. But as Iraqi Prime Minister yesterday, he said in the press conference, this conference represents an important platform for Iraq to present our economy and services priorities and talk about the project we hope for in the integration between Iraq and the region's country in terms of services and economic partnership and ways to support Iraq in that path. Iraq is working on that way in supporting what we call it stability. Stability. Yes, the country is working for stability.
Hussein Al-Fartousi, we thank you for this detailed insight and thanks for joining us. Mr. Nader, we just had two calls from our correspondents in Iraq about the conference. They have provided somewhat detailed of what's the outcome and what's happening, and as we are anticipating still the speech of leaders to be held. In the meantime, I would love to hear your input on the comments they provided.
Well, in fact, these events and summit, or these conferences, definitely the side discussion has a major role in completing that task and the objective of that. Because each country and each representative have their own objectives toward each country and vice versa. Now, definitely, everybody was talking about the stability, the security. Without them, business and economic affairs have challenges. That's why I think we have to put kind of priorities for security and stability to enable investors to step in and help. Iraq definitely needs jobs, needs services, products, so many things need to be there. And the GCC has definitely sizable funds to invest, provided that the security is there and the infrastructure
without
is
security
there.
and stability, you cannot have
And laws and policies, procedures, these kind of things are very important. So the challenges or the burden on the Iraqi government, I think they are capable to have that environment to attract investment and investors to step in and benefit from the location and availability of business opportunities, frankly speaking. But I think we are confident enough that stability will take place, hopefully with the understanding of all the players and representative of in this summit.
Dr. Anwar, we'll stop right here for a quick break for this report, and we'll be right back.
Not far from Baghdad itself and on the banks of the Dead Sea in Jordan, the Baghdad Conference for Cooperation and Partnership commences in its second edition. After a successful first summit held last year in Baghdad, the State of Kuwait is participating in its second edition with a delegation headed by His Highness Sheikh Ahmed Nawaf Al Ahmed Al Sabah, the Prime Minister, to discuss support for Iraq in facing challenges and other issues related to the region, along with the participating countries. The participation of His Highness the Premier in this conference affirms Kuwait's role in supporting Iraq and its effort in achieving security and stability, as well as strengthening joint Arab cooperation. The second Baghdad summit will likely be based on the principle of providing a framework that includes Iraq and the main participating countries in the region to deliberate on Iraqi affairs and reconstruction, to actively discuss common issues in the region and the political, security, and economic developments it is witnessing.
Welcome back to this special live coverage of the Baghdad conference. Let's take a moment to talk with our guest over the phone, Vice Chairman of the Board of Directors of Kuwait Red Crescent Society, Anwar Hassawi, to give us his insight on the humanitarian initiatives in Iraq. Good afternoon, Mr. Anwar.
Yes, good afternoon to you.
Kuwait Red Crescent Society has implemented various programs and initiatives for the neighboring country, the Republic of Iraq, such as the City of Erbil's Kuwait Next to You campaign. Can you highlight more details on the humanitarian stance of the State of Kuwait regarding providing food and energy security as well as medical security in Iraq?
Yes, good afternoon. Kuwait Red Crescent Society have worked with Iraqi people since 1995 when there was refugees in Iran, Iraqi refugees in Iran. Then we started again in 2013 by a donation from Kuwait government. It was $200 million. And we started, of course, giving baskets of food and, of course, building hospitals, especially mobile hospitals that you can move it from one place to another. We have did we have built 5 schools in Erbil in Kurdistan, and it was for the disabled Iraqi students. We have held in maternity hospital for the women, pregnant women and the children. We have given equipment, and we have, of course, giving food and medicine for that. Also, we had did a lot of prosthetics for people who had their hand cut or their feet. Plus, we have given 5 ambulance cars, and we have been doing this with the Iraqi Red Crescent because they are, of course, our region and with our volunteers who go to Iraq. Kuwait Red Crescent also have accepted all donations for Iraq besides the 200 million, and we've been working for them mostly for tents and for the food. Of course, a lot of baskets of food we have given them, and we are doing this with the Iraqi Red Crescent, and we are also doing for Eid al-Adha food assistance, and for Eid al-Fitr we are of course we have talked about schools and about hospitals and food, and of course medical equipment, plus the mobile hospitals.
Mr. Anwar, yes. I would like to know more about the KRCS also worked to provide school supplies for displaced students in Iraq, in addition to constructing schools in various cities. Would you please give us more details on that and the importance of the educational process in Iraq?
In Iraq, of course, as I said, we have opened 5 schools in Kurdistan for disabled students, and we've been providing the students there with 20,000 school bags that time. I've been doing this every time according to what they demand for us. And of course, we have appointed some teachers. We're paying for them for the Iraqi people and for the Syrian people who come to Iraq as refugees. Also, besides the school, we've been working with hospitals, which is important for us now. We're working mostly about schools and medicine. We have provided a lot of mobile hospitals, and we have held hospitals with equipment, and also we have for medicine and for for pregnant ladies. Besides that, of course, a lot of parcels of food we've been giving them, distributing in Baghdad and also in Erbil, and to some other states in Iraq. Lately, we are thinking, and we signed to make a hospital in Basra, and this will be finished soon. And of course, this is part of our job and helping other countries. Now, Kuwait Red Crescent have helped over 100 countries around the world since it was established in 1966. Iraq, because they are our neighbors and our brothers, of course, we have to be with them as much as we can.
The Kuwait Red Crescent Society has always been on the front lines in those challenges, and we appreciate it. Mr. Anwar Hassawi, the Vice Chairman of Board of Directors of Kuwait Red Crescent Society, we thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
We will continue covering the conference throughout the day. Mr. Nader Abeid, Strategic Planning Consultant, Economic and Financial Expert, we appreciate you having you here in the studio. But before we let you go, any final comments about the summit in general?
Well, you see, it's nice to hear details of the feedback coming from Mr. Hisawi. Now, from business point of view, you see many countries, they are involved into pharmaceutical industries, where I think it is an important issue to have such investment in Iraq as well. Because most of the countries, if you see, now the size of the pharmaceutical market in the Arab world, we are talking about $12 billion, where 50% is produced through industries over around 200 factory. And if you see the Egypt has its own manufacturing where it covers 80%, 85%.
Wow.
Syria, the same thing. Yemen, 40%, 45%. Saudi Arabia is 20%. UAE is 20%.
So you're giving more opportunity, investment, and in the country's economy.
And jobs as well. Yes, you see, you know, this kind of thoughts is different than just donations and loans. I think it's important to think outside of the box, given
return of investment
and finding jobs to help in different location and different areas. Absolutely. This is very important to touch these kind of objectives to have a positive contribution on the economy of Iraq as well. Not only the financial contribution, it's an investment and kind of responsibility from both parties.
And I believe this conference also is a two-way streak. It's not a one-sided investment, so both sides can benefit from helping out. Basically.
Of course, especially that, you know, the environment of business environment as well. And laws and procedures, I think other countries in the neighborhood can help Iraq to move to another level. And we hope everything will be beneficial for Iraq and their stability.
I hope this summit will become fruitful. Mr. Nader, thank you for joining us. It's always a pleasure having you here.
Thank you for having us.
Well, that covers what we have right now on the Baghdad summit. We will continue this coverage throughout the day and along with the Arab-Chinese summit today at 8 p.m. So stay tuned. As for now, thank you for joining me.